We've all met someone who's confidently clueless, the friend who insists they're great at driving, yet every time you ride along, you quietly grip the seatbelt, hoping to survive the next sharp turn. Or maybe it's your uncle, the self-proclaimed financial guru who passionately dishes out investment advice at every family gathering, yet somehow manages to lose money every year, convinced that he's just unlucky. Then there's the coworker, always first to jump into any conversation with bold claims that seem impressive at first, until you fact-check them and realize they're entirely wrong. Despite clear evidence to the contrary, these people hold tightly onto their illusions, utterly certain in their misguided beliefs. You've probably wondered how they could possibly not see their own flaws, how someone so clearly incompetent could carry themselves with such unwavering self-assurance. Psychologist David Dunning was intrigued by this puzzling disconnect between skill and confidence. Alongside colleague Justin Kruger, he explored why those with the least knowledge often spoke the loudest. They discovered that unskilled individuals weren't just slightly off, they dramatically overestimated their abilities, completely unaware of their own shortcomings. But why does this happen? How can incompetence lead directly to false confidence? It seems counterintuitive. If you lack skill or knowledge, wouldn't common sense tell you to be humble, to remain quiet and observant? Surprisingly, that's rarely the case. Instead, the very skills necessary to recognize competence in others, to truly grasp the complexity and depth of a subject, are precisely the skills that unskilled individuals lack. It's a cognitive blind spot. They simply don't know enough to realize what they don't know. This creates a sort of illusion where limited knowledge feels complete, where shallow understanding feels deep, and where ignorance masquerades convincingly as expertise. In this video, we'll dive deeply into this intriguing phenomenon known as the Dunning-Kruger Effect. We'll explore exactly how and why our brains trick us into believing we're smarter and more capable than we truly are. You'll see how this cognitive bias impacts different aspects of life, from personal relationships and careers to politics and social media. Most importantly, you'll discover practical ways to spot this bias, not just in others, but within yourself, and understand why being aware of it can make you a more thoughtful, humble, and ultimately wiser person. In 1999, two psychologists, David Dunning and Justin Kruger, published groundbreaking research that forever changed the way we understand human competence and self-awareness. Their study revealed a strange psychological pattern, one that we now call the Dunning-Kruger Effect. At its core, this fascinating cognitive bias explains why people who have low skills or knowledge in a particular area tend to dramatically overestimate their abilities. Simply put, the less you actually know, the more you tend to think you know. It's a paradoxical blindness. Ignorance doesn't just leave you unaware of facts, it leaves you unaware of your own ignorance. Think about someone trying a new sport for the very first time. Initially, they might watch a few videos, practice a handful of moves, and quickly conclude they're naturally gifted. Without exposure to advanced techniques or rigorous competition, their limited perspective makes them believe they've mastered the game. They haven't yet discovered the intricacies that seasoned athletes spend years perfecting, nor have they experienced challenges that force humility. In their mind, their basic skill set feels complete, and their shallow understanding seems deep enough to qualify it as genuine expertise. On the flip side, people who are truly skilled and knowledgeable often underestimate their competence. Experts have dedicated years, even decades, to their craft, diving into complex details that beginners don't even realize exist. The deeper they go, the clearer they see how vast the subject really is. Every new discovery highlights additional questions, layers, and complexities they haven't yet mastered, leaving them humbly aware of their limitations. Thus, Despite being genuinely talented and knowledgeable, experts frequently feel less confident in their abilities than novices do. The more you learn, the more clearly you see how much you still don't know. David Dunning summed this up beautifully. The trouble with ignorance is it feels so much like expertise. When you're truly unaware, you experience confidence without doubt, clarity without complexity, and certainty without hesitation. Your ignorance, ironically, protects your self-esteem and creates the illusion that you have all the answers you need. It's an insidious psychological trap, your brain tricking you into thinking you're much smarter and more capable than reality would support. This effect doesn't discriminate. Everyone experiences it at some point, in some area of their life. Whether it's the overly confident novice claiming authority on complex topics, or the humble expert cautiously offering insight, we've all seen or felt this phenomenon at work. Recognizing how this cognitive bias operates can help us better understand ourselves and others, bridging gaps in communication and expectation. In the next chapter, we'll explore the other side of this cognitive spectrum, the unique struggles faced by highly intelligent people. While intelligence brings many advantages, it also carries hidden burdens like anxiety, social isolation, and perfectionism. We'll dive into 8 specific challenges that gifted individuals often experience and discover why greater intelligence doesn't always translate into an easier life. It's easy to assume that being exceptionally smart means living an easier life. After all, intelligence often comes with praise, recognition, and opportunities. But surprisingly, smarter people face their own unique struggles, often hidden beneath their outward success. Highly intelligent individuals frequently grapple with intense anxiety, constantly worrying about the countless ways things might go wrong. Their sharp minds naturally anticipate future scenarios and outcomes, endlessly analyzing possibilities, and this relentless mental activity can become overwhelming. Perfectionism is another silent challenge. For intelligent people, good enough rarely feels sufficient. They see possibilities for improvement everywhere they look, pushing themselves toward unattainable standards. Every task turns into a high-stakes performance, every minor flaw amplified. And while perfectionism can drive remarkable achievements, it also breeds chronic dissatisfaction, exhaustion, and self-doubt. The quest for perfection becomes a never-ending cycle, making even small decisions feel monumental. Then there's overthinking. Highly intelligent individuals find it difficult to shut off their minds. A simple decision, one that others make effortlessly, can trigger hours of deliberation. They mentally replay conversations, scrutinize their words and actions, and dwell on past mistakes. Even when trying to rest, their minds stay active, analyzing every angle, every detail, every nuance. Overthinking becomes a trap they can't easily escape, exhausting them emotionally and mentally. Social interactions can be particularly challenging. Gifted people often struggle to connect with others, feeling like outsiders in their own social circles. Their advanced vocabulary, quick thinking, and complex interests sometimes isolate them rather than draw people closer. They might feel misunderstood, as if they're speaking a language no one else comprehends. Conversations can leave them drained and frustrated as they continually attempt to simplify their thoughts or slow down their thinking to match the pace of those around them. Highly intelligent people frequently become impatient too. Because their minds process information rapidly, they grow frustrated when others fail to keep up with their reasoning or logic. Waiting for others to reach conclusions they already see clearly can feel like watching paint dry, agonizingly slow and tedious. This impatience can come across as arrogance or rudeness, unintentionally pushing people away and further reinforcing feelings of isolation. Ironically, being smart doesn't guarantee good judgment. Intelligent people can have significant blind spots. they often become overly confident in their own logic and reasoning, assuming they've accounted for every factor. But their minds, accustomed to complexity, may miss simpler solutions hiding in plain sight. Instead of choosing obvious paths, they chase elaborate, convoluted approaches. This tendency to overcomplicate often leads them astray, trapping them in problems others easily avoid. Finally, gifted individuals frequently carry an invisible emotional burden, the burden of expectation. Others place high hopes on their intelligence, believing these individuals will consistently perform flawlessly. This pressure can be suffocating, forcing intelligent people into a perpetual state of stress, worried they'll disappoint those around them if they ever stumble. Fear of failure, of letting people down, becomes a constant companion, undermining their self-esteem and mental health. Understanding these hidden struggles gives us deeper empathy for highly intelligent individuals. Intelligence is not a guarantee of happiness or ease. Instead, it carries its own unique set of burdens, often unseen, misunderstood, and unappreciated. The fascinating and humbling truth about the Dunning-Kruger effect is that nobody is immune. No matter how intelligent, educated, or experienced we might be, each one of us has areas where our self-perception doesn't match reality. It's not something reserved for the foolish or arrogant. Even the smartest people regularly stumble into this cognitive trap. You could be a brilliant mathematician, skilled at unraveling the mysteries of complex equations, yet completely unaware of your own incompetence when managing personal finances. Being exceptional in one domain can easily give us false confidence in another, especially one we've barely explored. Why does this happen so consistently? The reason lies in how our minds assess competence. The very skills required to evaluate expertise in a given field are exactly the same skills required to actually be competent in that area. When you're inexperienced or unfamiliar with something, you don't even have enough knowledge to understand your own limitations. Essentially, you're blind to what you're missing. Your ignorance feels like mastery. Your partial understanding feels like comprehensive expertise, and your shallow grasp feels confidently solid. Imagine a skilled chef confidently believing they'll naturally excel at running a restaurant business. Cooking and entrepreneurship, though related, require very different skills. Mastery in the kitchen doesn't automatically translate into knowing how to balance budgets, handle marketing, or manage employees. But without exposure to these new skill sets, the talented chef remains unaware of their blind spots, confidently assuming they'll excel at restaurant management too. And that's exactly how overconfidence follows us into new territories, no matter how skilled we might be in other areas. What's particularly fascinating is how easily we assume competence transfers across unrelated fields. We subconsciously trust our past successes to guide us through new and complex challenges, rarely stopping to question our abilities. This mental shortcut can feel comforting, protecting our self-esteem and fueling optimism. But it also creates an illusion of expertise, masking the uncomfortable reality that we might be completely out of our depth. In other words, our own minds quietly set us up for disappointment. Next, we'll shift gears to explore exactly how overconfidence and the Dunning-Kruger effect can quickly derail an important phase of life: your 20s. We'll discuss common traps young adults fall into when misguided confidence takes over, and examine how easy it is to unintentionally sabotage yourself during these formative years. Let's take a quick detour into one of life's most critical decades, your 20s. This is a time full of possibility, excitement, and potential. Yet, surprisingly, it's also the period many young adults unknowingly sabotage. How? By letting misplaced confidence take the driver's seat. The 20s often become the perfect storm for self-sabotage. You're fresh out of school or college, ambitious, and brimming with optimism. But that optimism can easily blur into arrogance, overestimating your abilities, while vastly underestimating real-world experience can quickly lead to some genuinely disastrous decisions. Imagine diving into your career, believing you're already an expert, certain your ideas are always right, your instincts always reliable. This inflated self-belief causes you to reject valuable advice from mentors, dismiss constructive criticism, and ignore the warning signs clearly visible to everyone but you. Instead of learning from those who've walked the path before you, you stubbornly insist you've got it figured out. But in reality, this approach closes doors rather than opening them, pushing away valuable opportunities and relationships that could have shaped your future positively. Combine this overconfidence with youthful impulsivity, and you've got the recipe for repeated, avoidable mistakes. Decisions made in haste, without thoughtful reflection or the humility to listen to others, pile up fast. A job hastily quit after one tough day, a reckless financial choice made on impulse, or relationships prematurely ended because you refuse to consider someone else's perspective. Each impulsive act, driven by misplaced confidence, nudges you further away from growth and stability. Refusing feedback becomes second nature when you believe you're already smarter than those around you. Constructive criticism, instead of being viewed as a helpful guide, feels like an attack on your identity. Rather than reflecting on your own shortcomings, you instinctively dismiss valuable insights because accepting them would mean admitting you don't have all the answers. And nobody wants to feel inadequate, especially in the vibrant, hopeful optimism of youth. Yet, ironically, this exact attitude guarantees future regret, stagnation, and frustration. Confidence without competence is dangerously seductive because it feels empowering in the moment. You feel unstoppable, ready to take on the world with your limited but passionate perspective. However, the harsh reality eventually surfaces. Mistakes made in arrogance often carry lasting consequences. Missed career opportunities, broken friendships, strained family relationships, and wasted years spent repeatedly learning the same painful lessons. Your 20s don't have to be a decade defined by repeated mistakes and avoidable setbacks. Awareness of this dangerous combination, impulsivity, arrogance, refusal of feedback, and overconfidence, is key to avoiding the pitfalls that sabotage so many young lives. Realizing that true expertise is built gradually through experience, humility, and open-mindedness can dramatically alter the trajectory of your life. Remember, your 20s set the foundation for decades ahead. Use them wisely, thoughtfully, and humbly, rather than allowing misguided confidence to silently sabotage your future. In today's hyper-connected world, the internet has become an incredibly powerful tool, putting unlimited information literally at our fingertips. Yet ironically, rather than making us wiser, this constant stream of easy-access knowledge often deepens our ignorance. A few quick Google searches and a handful of blog posts can create the illusion of genuine expertise, leading us to confidently speak on topics we barely understand. Social media platforms amplify this problem significantly. They reward bold opinions, catchy headlines, and absolute certainty, even when accuracy is questionable. It's far easier to attract attention by speaking confidently than it is to carefully explain nuanced positions or acknowledge uncertainty. And attention equals validation, making confidence seem synonymous with credibility. This feedback loop on social media fosters an ideal breeding ground for the Dunning-Kruger Effect. Users share superficial knowledge, quickly convincing themselves and others of their supposed mastery. One viral tweet, one assertive YouTube video, or a confident Instagram post can instantly grant someone the appearance of authority, even without genuine expertise or deeper understanding. This cycle reinforces itself endlessly, spreading misinformation faster than careful analysis can catch up. The internet doesn't just enable overconfidence, it actively encourages it. Interestingly, this phenomenon doesn't manifest equally across all cultures. Cultural values heavily influence how susceptible people are to the Dunning-Kruger effect. In Western societies, particularly in America, confidence is highly celebrated. From a young age, people are encouraged to believe in their limitless potential. They're told they can achieve anything, reinforcing a strong sense of self-assurance. While optimism and self-belief are valuable, this cultural emphasis can inadvertently inflate self-assessments, making people vulnerable to overestimating their own abilities. When combined with the instant validation and echo chambers of the internet, this creates a powerful combination that intensifies the effect dramatically. By contrast, many East Asian cultures place greater value on humility, reflection, and continual self-improvement. Instead of boldly claiming expertise, students are often taught to view knowledge as an ongoing journey, never truly complete, always open to refinement. They're encouraged to be cautious about asserting mastery and are instead trained to identify and acknowledge their weaknesses actively. As a result, these cultures tend to experience reduced levels of the Dunning-Kruger effect, as cultural humility helps individuals remain mindful of their limitations and encourages them to actively seek improvement. The lesson here is clear. Cultural attitudes towards confidence significantly shape our vulnerability to cognitive biases. When societies reward confidence over careful self-assessment, and when online platforms amplify bold yet superficial statements, overconfidence inevitably thrives. To mitigate this effect, we must cultivate genuine intellectual humility, deliberately question our assumptions, and encourage deeper engagement beyond superficial digital interactions. By acknowledging that our cultural and online environments actively shape our self-perceptions, we become better equipped to avoid the illusion of expertise and more capable of genuine understanding. The Dunning-Kruger effect isn't just an individual phenomenon. It profoundly impacts entire societies, reshaping our communities, our politics, and even our collective future. Consider politics, where voters confidently support oversimplified solutions to complex problems simply because those solutions feel intuitively correct. Driven by misplaced confidence, they reject nuanced expert advice and gravitate toward leaders who offer quick, easy fixes. In such environments, populism thrives, misinformation spreads rapidly, and thoughtful discourse takes a backseat to confident assertions. The result? Societies increasingly driven by superficial promises rather than informed, carefully considered decisions. This pattern extends far beyond politics. Companies frequently mistake confidence for competence, promoting employees who boldly present themselves as experts over quieter, more capable individuals. Over time, this creates organizational cultures where genuine skills are undervalued and surface-level confidence is rewarded. Public health also suffers as confidently misinformed voices drown out expert advice, causing confusion and skepticism toward vital health measures. When parents believe their limited understanding surpasses that of trained educators, educational systems struggle to deliver quality education, undermining the very foundation that supports informed citizenship. Compounding this problem is the unique challenge posed by today's unprecedented information overload. We live in a digital era overflowing with endless streams of information. Ironically, instead of making us wiser, this flood of data often tricks us into believing we're smarter than we truly are. Quick online searches, social media scrolling, and brief articles give us fragmented, superficial knowledge that feels comprehensive. We confuse easy access to information with genuine expertise, overlooking the vast gaps in our actual understanding. Social media algorithms further reinforce our biases, feeding us content that aligns with our existing views and hiding contradictory perspectives. This echo chamber effect creates a distorted sense of certainty, intensifying the Dunning-Kruger phenomenon. The more we see information reinforcing our beliefs, the more confidently and mistakenly we assert ourselves as experts. The cycle repeats, deepening societal divides and increasing vulnerability to misinformation. Navigating this modern landscape requires a new kind of skill: digital literacy. Digital literacy means recognizing credible sources, understanding how to critically evaluate information, and deliberately seeking out different perspectives. It involves humility, the courage to admit openly that we don't know everything, and to genuinely embrace the uncertainty inherent in complex topics. Real wisdom today isn't about confidently knowing all the answers. It's about having the awareness and humility to recognize our limits and keep learning. Ultimately, understanding how the Dunning-Kruger effect shapes our society, combined with actively cultivating digital literacy, equips us to break free from superficial confidence. By valuing careful thinking, genuine expertise, and thoughtful humility, we create healthier societies, more informed decisions, and communities better prepared to navigate the complexities of our interconnected world. Confidence often gets a bad reputation, especially when it's overly inflated or misplaced. We've all seen the damaging effects of excessive confidence, where arrogance blinds people to their mistakes, closes them off from valuable feedback, and prevents genuine growth. But confidence itself isn't the problem. In fact, a certain amount of confidence is essential for success, motivation, and perseverance. Research consistently shows that people who slightly overestimate their abilities are actually better equipped to push through difficult challenges and setbacks. They're more resilient, more likely to take necessary risks, and more persistent in the face of adversity. This slight optimism can be the difference between giving up early and reaching your goals. The secret, however, lies in moderation. Confidence only becomes dangerous when it surpasses your actual abilities, when it evolves into blind arrogance instead of grounded optimism. Healthy confidence, on the other hand, means clearly recognizing your limits while simultaneously believing in your potential. It's about striking the delicate balance between acknowledging the reality of your current skill set and having faith in your ability to learn, improve, and ultimately succeed. This realistic optimism enables you to stay open to criticism, humble enough to ask for help, and courageous enough to act decisively. But how do we actually achieve this balance? Ironically, the biggest obstacle lies within ourselves. Recognizing the Dunning-Kruger effect in our own behavior is remarkably difficult, precisely because our brains naturally resist acknowledging incompetence. We instinctively reject the uncomfortable truth that we might not be as skilled or knowledgeable as we think we are. Instead, we quietly reinforce our biases, selectively embracing evidence that supports our illusions of competence, while dismissing information that challenges our self-perception. To overcome this natural resistance, deliberate self-awareness becomes crucial. Regularly seeking honest, constructive feedback from trusted individuals, whether friends, mentors, or colleagues, can offer you valuable insights you can't see on your own. Accepting criticism openly, even if it stings, allows you to identify weaknesses clearly and create tangible opportunities for growth. It's never comfortable, but it's profoundly necessary. Beyond feedback, practicing deliberate improvement, actively and intentionally addressing your areas of weakness is equally vital. Simply knowing where you fall short isn't enough. Real growth comes from reflecting honestly on your performance, taking concrete steps to address specific shortcomings, and continuously refining your approach. Building this habit of reflective practice can transform your self-perception from blindly confident to meaningfully self-assured. Ultimately, the goal isn't to eliminate confidence or suppress your belief in yourself. Quite the opposite. It's about aligning your self-confidence closely with reality. It's about maintaining enough optimism to keep pushing forward, yet enough humility to keep improving. Striking this balance requires courage and self-awareness, but the rewards are immense. A healthy sense of confidence, grounded in realism and openness to feedback, paves the way for true personal growth, greater resilience, and lasting success. At its core, the Dunning-Kruger Effect teaches us a deeply profound and beautifully ironic lesson. True knowledge begins with humility. The more we genuinely learn, the more clearly we see how vast the unknown truly is. Real wisdom isn't about confidently claiming all the answers. It's about comfortably accepting our own ignorance and limitations. Genuine experts don't pretend to have everything figured out. Instead, they're openly aware of how little they truly know. This awareness fuels their curiosity, driving them to continually seek deeper understanding and to welcome new perspectives openly and thoughtfully. When we embrace this powerful paradox, we allow ourselves to grow, not just intellectually, but personally and emotionally too. We become wiser, realizing that confidence doesn't come from boldly declaring expertise, but from acknowledging uncertainty. We become kinder, more patient listeners, capable of compassionately engaging with those around us, recognizing our shared vulnerability to misunderstanding and error. We become more effective, focusing our energy on continuous improvement rather than stubbornly defending our opinions. The willingness to admit we might be wrong makes us stronger, not weaker. Understanding why people mistakenly believe they're smarter than they truly are reveals a universal human struggle. It reminds us that knowledge itself isn't about always being right. It's about courageously facing uncertainty and striving toward meaningful insight, even when the answers aren't easy or immediately clear. When we acknowledge and accept our limitations, we start breaking free from the very biases that cloud our judgment. Instead of fearing ignorance, we begin using it as a compass, guiding us toward deeper truths, more profound connections, and a richer understanding of the world and ourselves. Ultimately, recognizing and embracing the irony of knowledge is what allows us to grow beyond superficial confidence toward authentic wisdom. True intelligence involves speaking less, listening more, and constantly pursuing growth. It requires humility, curiosity, and genuine openness, qualities far more valuable than misplaced certainty. If this video resonated with you, please leave a comment below saying, "True wisdom starts with knowing what I don't know." And don't forget to check out one of the suggested videos on your screen now for even more insights into psychology, self-awareness, and personal growth. Thanks for being a part of Mosaic Mind.